Then other people started to notice her shift. Her daughters first noticed that she was gaining weight, that she seemed happier. Her hairdresser commented on how good her hair and her skin looked. It was an amazing transformation to watch. It's when we start listening, we can really make small shifts that create massive change. I used to think that my body changes meant that something was wrong with me until I realized they were messages, signals, leading me to more energy, clarity, and a deeper sense of freedom. I'm Stephanie Huntjens White, and now as a women's health mentor, holistic nutrition coach, and energy practitioner, I help women over 40 decode their symptoms and hormones and trust their body's wisdom so they can feel, look, and sleep their best. In the You Being You podcast, we're not here for quick fixes or one-size-fits-all solutions. This is where science meets intuition, where we get to rewrite the old stories about aging, and where you get to take back your power one small step at a time. Join me in my hi and welcome back to the You Being You podcast. I am so glad that you are here. Today we're diving into something that changed everything for me. Learning to listen to my body, its messages, and its signals. So I've had to pivot with this tool so many times. I'd like to know, how good are you at taking other people's advice? Do you listen? I've always been really good at listening to other people's advice. I've gone and read Airbnb reviews and dissected them and decided whether or not I believed in the review, whether those things that somebody was critical of were important to me. I'm very good at listening to other people. I even listened to my friend Anne in grade 7, who was walking down the hall, saw me standing sideways in the hallway beside my desk during the national anthem. And that afternoon, we went shopping for my first bra. I listened to the doctor who told me to get on the Greyhound bus and go home and sleep for 2 weeks after I was diagnosed with mono in order for me to begin my health recovery from having mono. I listened to the nurse who helped me after my first son was born, and the nurse told me to ask for help. And it wasn't just any specific help because I was in the hospital for 5 days because it was post C-section. And she said every night to call down to the nurse's station and have the nurses take my young son. And she said, this is the only time you are going to have this kind of care. And so take advantage of it. And so when I returned, actually with my other 2 boys, and again, both C-sections, I made sure that every night I buzzed down to the nurse's station and they begrudgingly came up and took my infant son away and let me have a good night's sleep. So I'm very good at taking advice from others. Are you good at taking advice from others? Reading reviews before you make decisions on booking a trip, or maybe reserving a table at a restaurant, or maybe even picking a movie. I mean, how many times do you go on to Rotten Tomatoes to check out whether or not a movie is worth your time or not? I know I do. I do all of those things. But are you good at listening to yourself? Do you take your own advice? Go to bed early, drink more water, drink less coffee, eat less sugar, take breaks during the day. You know those time blocks we're supposed to do, get up and stretch and move around in order to lower your cortisol levels? Are you doing those? It's hard. It's really hard to listen to yourself and make those shifts. When my kids were really little, and I hadn't figured out how to support my body yet. At the time, I was nursing, and you know how much energy that takes, right? All the food you eat gets turned into baby fuel. So I was dropping weight really quickly. My energy and moods were super erratic, and I kind of had like a nervous energy. And so I had returned to running because running helped burn off that excess energy that I had pent up in my body. And so I was running literally on fumes. At the time, I had my 2 boys, and I would go to the drive-thru, and I would pick a time in the afternoon when everybody was a little bit tired, and I would go through the drive-thru and get a coffee, and it was cream and sugar. Can't stand sugar in my coffee today. I don't know about you, but I can't stand it in my coffee today. But back then, that was how I drank it. So my cream and sugar coffee, and we drive out into the countryside, which is not very far from where I live. And then I would wait, and I would watch in the rearview mirror to see what the boys were doing. And as soon as they fell asleep, guess what I did? I pulled off on the side of the road, and I had a nap. I was absolutely in survival mode. My daily fuel was peanut butter sandwiches and coffee. And I thought that quick naps and caffeine were enough to keep me going. I ignored my exhaustion, I pushed through, and I thought that that's just what a young mom has to do. But my body had been speaking to me all along. I just wasn't listening. And if you've listened to the last episode, you know what happened next. I ended up in a doctor's office, having to say no to antidepressants as a cure for my exhaustion. And I know I'm not the only one who has done this. So today, let's talk about what these signals are, why they matter, and how you too can start tuning into them. Our bodies are always signaling with us, but most of the time we ignore the messages, the fatigue, the cravings, the mood swings, the headaches, the poor sleep. These are all signals. They're not random inconveniences. It's not your body trying to be a jerk. When I was pushing my body by using caffeine to keep up, I wasn't letting the message, "You're tired," land. I was ignoring it and adding something in like coffee to help keep me going. Think of it like tuning into a radio station. When the signal is clear, you get the message easily, right? But when they're static, it's really hard to hear. Your body is the same way. When you learn to tune in, you can start hearing what it is trying to tell you and tell you before things get any worse. But for me, the exhaustion, the cravings, and the brain fog, it was like my body's way of waving a great big red flag. But I kept ignoring it, thinking I just needed to push harder. The result was, well, adrenal fatigue for one thing, and that happened because I wasn't fueling properly. I was eating bread and peanut butter, which I thought was adding energy into my body, but instead I needed more depth, more dense sources of protein like chickpeas, eggs, lentils, any kind of animal protein, maybe some fish in there. I was also not recharging my batteries. I remember once going to the chiropractor and the young doctor, who must have noticed how tired I looked, he suggested that I take a bath before I go to bed. So I listened to him because I'm good at listening to other people, right? After supper, I ran a nice warm bath after the kids had been tucked into bed because I really wanted to enjoy this bath. I turned the lights down, I put on some music, I soaked in the soapy water until it cooled off, and then I got out. The result? I had better sleep than I had had in weeks, if not months, and I fell into a deep, deep sleep that night, all from a bath. It's interesting, isn't it? A bath relaxed my body and sent the signal to my body to sleep more soundly. I didn't need to burn off energy like I had been by using running. I needed to add energy back in to relax, like a battery being recharged. I needed to give it the signal to relax by relaxing. Research also supports my bath sleep theory. Researchers discovered that the quality of sleep and length of sleep can be improved when a bath is taken 1 to 2 hours before bedtime and lasts as little as 10 minutes. So imagine what a 20-minute bath could do for you. And then no wonder I had such a great result. Imagine adding music and lights and really setting the stage and creating a beautiful ritual. Imagine the effect that that could have on your sleep. Now, over to you. Do you have signals that you've been ignoring? Maybe it's your afternoon slump, your constant sugar cravings, or those random headaches you're having. It's time to start paying attention. So why does listening to those signals matter? It's because your body's signals are your greatest tool for understanding your health and what's going on inside your body. They show you, they're a snapshot of where your energy is getting stuck, where your system is struggling, and what it needs to thrive. When you ignore these signals, you end up in a cycle of burnout, of cravings, and feeling just uncomfortable. And then those can turn into bigger health issues over time. Trust me on that one. I once had a client who came to me, her name is Liz, and she was 98 pounds. She ran her very own successful business, had staff working for her in her own home office, and was literally running her body into the ground. In fact, she was so busy that she never took any time for herself. And her nervous system was so dysregulated that it let go of all the food she ate. It was like her nervous system couldn't trust her and anything she put into her body. So we started with her sense of self first, not food. I asked her what she loved to do the most, and she said she loved sitting in her backyard, listening to the birds, and watching the sunset. So that is exactly where we started. We gave her body permission to simply sit and listen, and over the next few weeks, she began to thrive. Her body started to relax, she started sleeping better, and that translated into her wanting to eat better. We added in meridian stretches to move her energy out of her body more freely rather than feeling pent up and exhausted. She started to take lunches and ordered all of her staff who worked with her to take the lunch break with her. They took 90-minute breaks to eat real food like sweet potato and quinoa, salads. They would add avocado and feta cheese in there. They relaxed while eating a meal together. They sat around and ate together and chewed their food. Then other people started to notice her shift. Her daughters first noticed that she was gaining weight, that she seemed happier. Her hairdresser commented on how good her hair and her skin looked. It was an amazing transformation to watch. It's when we start listening, we can really make small shifts, really small shifts, like sitting and watching the sunset and listening to the birds, that create massive change. As you saw, my exhaustion was not about needing more sleep. It was about deep depletion. As a firewood type body, according to traditional Chinese medicine, I was burning through my reserves without replenishing them. I needed more than just rest. I needed really deep nourishment, iron-rich foods, grounding meats, and slowing down instead of constantly revving my engine. Liz needed time to give her body permission to hold on to weight, to learn to trust her surroundings again and move her stagnant energy that was stuck in her body and support her nervous system. So what is your body asking you? Is it asking for more rest, more nourishment? Is it asking for less stress? But how do you start listening? The best place to start is to first use your awareness. I want to challenge you to journal for the next 3 days, 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and night. Write down how you're feeling. Are you tired? Are you craving something? Feeling anxious? Energetic? Just notice and write it down without worrying about how you felt. I love the word curious. Which is one word that I often use, and I know when I notice something happening, I'll stop and go, that's really curious. I take a step back, look for patterns, and I want you to do the same. Are you always crashing in the afternoon? Are your cravings strongest at a certain time of day? Do you look for chocolate after supper like my husband does? Do you wake up at 2 a.m. like many women do over the age of 40? Your body is giving you clues. And once you start recognizing them, you can start making shifts. Also start asking yourself, what would really recharge me? If you're exhausted, is coffee really the answer? Or do you need deeper nourishment? If you're craving sugar, could that be a sign of sugar imbalance instead of just a lack of willpower? The goal here is curiosity. You don't need to fix everything all at once. Just start noticing. All right, here's your challenge. For the next 3 days, take a few minutes to check in with yourself and track your body's signals. What patterns do you see? What might your body be asking for? And if you found this episode helpful, I'd love for you to share it with a friend who needs to hear it. You can also reach out to me on Instagram and let me know what signals you're starting to notice. I would love to hear what you're noticing. Next week, we're going to go even deeper into decoding what your symptoms mean. Until then, keep listening, keep tuning in, and remember, your body is always speaking to you, and let's keep doing this together. See you next time. Thanks for listening to this episode of the You Being You podcast. If you found something helpful, share it with a friend who needs to hear it. And if you're loving the podcast, I'd be so grateful if you left a review. It helps more women like you tune in and trust their wisdom. Speaking of wisdom, your body is always giving you clues. And if you're curious about what they're saying, take the Hidden Clues quiz. It's a fun way to unlock your energy type and get some answers. You'll find the link in the show notes. And if you're ready for deeper support, the Flourish Academy is where we do this work together, helping women 40 plus feel better, have more energy, and actually enjoy their bodies again. I'll add a link to learn more in the show notes. Until next time, keep trusting yourself and keep being you.